Welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast here for our first episode of the new year 2023. Hope everybody had a good and safe new year. I'm here joined by Isaiah Harris and Christian Cubis. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Like what he said, Happy New Year. Hope everybody enjoyed their holidays. Hope everybody has safe holidays. NBA. So getting into the swing of things. Let's get going. Halfway through the season.
Yeah, as Isaiah said, we'll be doing our second NBA check-in. Most NBA teams are either at the halfway point or about to reach there, 41 games. A lot of big takeaways going on in what's been a fun season in both conferences, a lot of up and down performances. I want to start off with checking in on the standings, checking in on who's in the playoff race, who's in the play-in tournament on each side. I got the standings as they are today up here in front of me. We'll start in the Eastern Conference. At the top, Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Cleveland. Those would be your four home court advantage playoff teams in the Eastern Conference, followed by the Sixers, the Knicks, the Pacers, and the Heat, with the Bulls and Hawks as your play-in teams as well. Moving forward to the Western Conference, at the top, we got Denver, Memphis, New Orleans, and Dallas. And then following suit are Sacramento, Golden State, LA Clippers, the Trailblazers, and then the Suns and Jazz as your play-in teams in the Western Conference. So just hearing those list of teams right there, what are your guys' biggest takeaways? What surprises you about what you're seeing in the standings right now?
Clearly, for me, it's the 5-team race in the East. I think it's a 5-team race to win the East going on out east between Boston, Nets, Bucks, Cavs, and Sixers. Boston and the Nets have been really healthy. No surprisingly, they're the top 2 seeds. Chris Middleton has been in and out of the lineup. Jrue Holiday has been in and out of the lineup. Giannis is doing a carry job. Cleveland is young and up and coming, so it's not surprising that they're learning how to be this great. And Philly's had James Harden injuries. I think Maxi's been hurt for a good amount of time.
Embiid's out right now too.
Yeah. And the Knicks, surprisingly, are above the plane. They're having a really good season. They stole Jalen Brunson. He looks like a star. That's how I'd say for the East. And as for the West, now it's a change of the guard. We've got Denver, who's finally healthy. Happy to see Jamal Murray and MPJ back. Memphis and New Orleans, the 2 teams that picked top of the draft just 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago.
No, those are year 4 now. Yeah,
a few years ago. So that's what happens when you pick transcendent players. Luka carrying the Mavs like no other. Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox, along with Coach Mike Brown, maybe getting the Kings back to the playoffs for the first time in what feels like 15 years plus. And Golden State, who are Golden State. I mean, they'll be fine as long as they can get Steph back healthy. As long as they can fix that problem that Jordan Poole and Draymond Green have brought with the bad juju they brought to the team.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that because my biggest takeaway from me, you were talking about the New York Knicks. They've been even better. I had to pick the Knicks to be in the playoffs this year, so I thought the Knicks would be able to, but I didn't think they'd be a 6 seed. I thought they'd be a play-in team. There are only 3 teams in the NBA that are top 10 in offensive and defensive rating: the Celtics, the Nets, and the New York Knicks. So I think you got to give a lot of credit to Tom Thibodeau for the way he's coaching that team up. Give a lot of credit to I guess Jalen Brunson's father for being one of the best recruiters ever to get a starting caliber star point guard on their team. And then most importantly, Julius Randle. He was all NBA All-Star 2 years ago. He was unbelievable. The Knicks were in the playoffs. Last year, he massively crashed down to the mean, regressed, couldn't hit a 3. Now he's right back up there again. He's up 25 plus points a game. He's hitting 3 threes a game. This level of Julius Randle is what the Knicks need to be a competitive team. And I think Jalen Brunson has really opened that up for them as well.
Yeah, just going back to what Isaiah was saying, I love how we're able to see a young core team, fully healthy teams this year, such as the Nuggets. Thankfully, Jamal Murray has been able to level them up to the 1 seed this year. Along with that, Pelicans, Brandon Ingram is injured right now, but with the combination of Brandon Ingram, Zion, and CJ, we've been able to see them at the 3 seed right now. So that's amazing. Obviously, going along with what you said with the Knicks, RJ Barrett seems to have, really developed his game in the NBA, and he's been, really helpful as of now. So it's amazing to see. He dropped a 40-piece not too long ago, so that was really unexpected. But what really surprises me is the bottom half of the top 8 seeds, teams such as the Miami Heat that, really expected them to do way better than the 8 seed as of right now. A mix of injuries and just bad chemistry overall. Kyle Lowry, obviously, but Tyler Hill
Yeah.
had a terrible season as well, up and down, and just their shooters in general. But the Bulls as well, coming at the 9 seed overall. It seems that they're overall having a bad chemistry, locker room chemistry. So, teams with locker room issues is the worst type of issues. But,
What a surprise that Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are leading two of the most disappointing teams in the Eastern Conference. Who could have seen that coming?
Exactly. But just going to the West Coast, I think the Clippers have been a disappointment to me. Obviously, yeah. We've seen, glimpses of Kawhi and PG here and there, but the other night, their combination of 2 points throughout the whole night is obviously a disappointment. John Wall coming off the bench, it's not prime John Wall, it's 6-man John Wall. So that, and then Suns coming at the 9th seed on the West. Obviously, we've seen that the whole Suns team hates DeAndre Ayton for some reason.
And he hates all of them too.
Yeah,
They're very clear about it.
again with the locker room issues, and those are the worst type of issues you can have in the team. So those are my biggest disappointments for them.
All right, so we're about halfway through the year. Playoffs should be rolling around into April. So we'll probably do another check-in, I guess, like the 60, 65 game mark. How do you expect these? You said what?
Probably after the trade deadline, because that will be the last.
Trade deadline as well. How do y'all expect what do y'all expect to be the biggest mover in the standings, either up and down in either conference?
You want to go first, Christian? With the
Yeah, I'll go first. With the Eastern, I believe, well, my team is the Wizards, obviously, so they're not in a great shape, but they are, open to trade. Obviously, our biggest asset is Kyle Kuzma and Kristaps Porzingis. Bradley Beal is there to stay, so he's in no option at all.
And that's why the rest of those guys are there to stay. Y'all not trading anybody, Christian. Y'all gave Bradley Beal $250 million because y'all trying to win basketball games.
But there's 6 games under 500.
That doesn't mean you're going to win basketball games. Ask the Chicago Bulls. Investing does not mean victory, but they're invested nonetheless.
We see many teams do the strategy of addition by subtraction. So we'll see, what works. But we've seen the Bulls, like I said, have a lot of issues as well. It's obvious Zach LaVine wants out of that team as well. So I don't think, by the trade deadline that'll happen, but most likely during the summer. It seems like his target is LA. So,
the LaVine AD trade seems like it's coming down the pipe sooner rather than later.
So what do you think is going to change in the standings? You just went on about how sad
the Wizards will get better.
Don't think Wizards. I think there'll be a trade with the Bulls for sure. I'm just not sure what.
Okay, so you think one of those teams?
Yeah, definitely the bottom.
They're going to tank it out.
But my number one trade for the West would be Timberwolves. We've seen time and time again that the mix of Cat and Rudy Gobert in the paint has obviously, tanked that team. Anthony Edwards seems unhappy. D'Angelo Russell seems unhappy. It just, they haven't had time to, or they don't have enough space to take it to the paint with both of them. Obviously, it's Twin Towers staying in the paint the whole time. So I think there'll be a trade there for sure. That'll be my two teams.
Do you think Minnesota will tank it out, or will they go all in some more? I don't know.
They don't have anything else to go all in with. They traded 6 picks for Rudy Gobert, who may not be good anymore. So that might be a problem.
It's a big disappointment.
I actually agree with the teams Christian mentioned, though. Chicago and Washington are interesting to watch. I'd also throw Atlanta in there. I think I was never high on Miami. I think they've maxed out on what they can do. But I think of those 3 teams, Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, I do believe one of them will save their season. And I'd look at the Knicks as a team, Knicks and Pacers as a team to fall off and be the team that you attack there. In the East, in the West, the teams at the bottom are so dramatically in problems. I would look at the 2 teams in LA, try to save their season. LeBron, he complains on a daily basis that the Lakers need to do something. What they shouldn't have done was trade for Russell Westbrook.
So that's why they ain't gonna do nothing.
I think the Timberwolves are screwed. They might need to get D'Angelo Russell out of there. He's
a free agent, so maybe deadline deal.
I think he's the biggest problem because he plays no defense and he has a very ball dominant type of game. I think he's run his course there. He's the odd man out. But Minnesota and the two teams in LA would be the teams I see trying to jump their way and attack that Sacramento spot and that Portland spot. So those are the teams I can see trying to move up. And the problem is there's some teams at the bottom of this West that I'm pretty sure are going to be tanking really hard going forward. So I like the teams at the top. I think it will be battling out the top four in the West. I think are the best four teams in the West. So I think that's good. I'm interested to see what Sacramento does. They went all in last deadline. I think that they might stay the course, but I don't think they could guarantee Golden State will stay the course and be behind them. So I think they'll know they have to seed over that spot. So I think the West is pretty stacked out of where it's going to be with the top 6 teams. We'll see what happens with the Clippers. The injuries are bad there. But the East I said, like, for the East, watch out for Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, and for the West, Minnesota and the 2 teams in LA. Those are the teams I'll see.
No Miami?
No, I didn't believe Miami was going anywhere to start the season. So I'm not shocked that Miami's bad this year.
The Heat culture isn't doing the job this year. For me, I'll just start in the West. The biggest change I obviously think I don't think Golden State's out the running to be the top seed in the West still, even despite their slow start. Over the last couple of weeks, they're 6th in defensive rating after being 25th to start the year. They were really, really bad on defense for some reason, but they figured that out, especially with Steph out. And they're going to get Steph back. They're going to get Andrew Wiggins back. Both of those guys have missed like the last month and a half. And the most important thing is that Klay Thompson looks like he can play again. Klay Thompson was sub 35%, I think, from 3 for the first few months of the first couple of weeks of the year. And now he had the 50-point game the other night against Chicago. He's been playing really, really good basketball. He's been hitting his outside shots. With Steph being out, he's been able to be more aggressive. And aggressive Klay is great Klay for the Warriors, because when Steph and Klay are going off, you're getting blown out. That's really how it goes. They still have Andrew Wiggins and come back as well. Draymond Green's being Draymond Green. Kevon Looney's trying to be an all-star. They still have a really good roster over there. And I think they had a slow start. They're 3-16 on the road. I think that will regress back to the mean. They'll be a much better road team going forward. That team knows how to win. So I think Golden State will rise back up. And then the shocking one in the East, and the East team that I think is going to be in the biggest blow-up scenario is Toronto, because they're really invested in that Siakam, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet has really regressed. Scotty Barnes has plateaued. Siakam, they're paying a lot of money to who he's just not that level of guy to be able to carry a good team, but not a great team. They're 6 games below 500, I think. They're in quite the spot. Like they try to make a big deal. Like they're the team that needed Kevin Durant the most. They're a team that needed to make a big deal for a star to try to
keep Scotty Barnes.
They ain't want to give up Scotty Barnes. And this is what happens when you don't give up Scotty Barnes, and Scotty Barnes doesn't become Kevin Durant like y'all was trying to expect him to. So they either have to take their lumps for a year, or they're going to have to blow it up. Let's trade Siakam. I think VanVleet has a player option. So they have means to, I think Gary Trent's a free agent as well. So they have means to get out of the situation. But yeah, they're just really invested into mediocre right now. All right, moving forward, we've had a lot of fun watching the NBA season this year. I know Christian's a Wizards fan, Isaiah's a Nets fan. Obviously, I'm a Lakers fan. But what has been your team/player that you've enjoyed watching that you don't root for?
I'll go first. I watch Denver the most. Of all the teams that I don't root for, that I watch the most, I watch Denver and Milwaukee the most. So those the two. I think they have the 2 consensus best players in the league, in Giannis and Jokic. Unfortunately for Giannis, no Middleton this year, so it's been a little bit of a struggle. If you'd say that they're still 2 games out of the 1 seed, he's having a great season, and Jokic has been amazing this year, borderline transcendent to a point where he might be the first person to win MVP 3 times in a row since the 80s. I predicted that, so I'll be continuing to root for that. But those 2 teams for sure. I picked one from the East and I picked one from the West. How about you, Christian?
For me, I have 2 teams, and they're both from the West I usually watch, and they just seem exciting to me. But Pelicans are the first one, just because of their young core. Obviously, Zion Williamson is one of my favorite players to watch. Generational player, can shoot from the 3. Like D'Angelo Russell said the other day, he's playing football while everyone's playing basketball. The rim, no one can stop him. So it's, amazing to watch. It's very rare that anyone can stop him, and actually guard him, actually. But other than that, I enjoy watching Mavericks as well. obviously the one generational player on that team that makes the biggest impact, Luka Doncic, Luka Magic, and just the fact that he's able to drop 50 continuously on multiple teams is just amazing. Someone get him some help on the team. But other than that, those two I feel like are great. Along with the Pelicans, Jose Alvarado, you know, it's amazing to see the defense strategy that he's brought to the NBA, hiding in the corner. Just that most of these point guards aren't really prepared for that. So it's great to see that as well.
Yeah, Pelicans have made a massive jump this year, and despite dealing with a bunch of injuries, I think Ingram's missed the last month with a toe problem. Zion's going to be out the next 3 weeks, but you saw still, even last night against one of the better teams in the league in Brooklyn, they took him down to the wire with backups. For me, I'll start in the West. As a Lakers fan, this disgusts me, but watching Sacramento has been extremely fun all year long. De'Aaron Fox is on my fantasy team, so him having a career year has been fantastic to watch for me, which is why I end up watching their games more often. Plus, I'm up late in the West. Him, Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, Murray, those guys are playing really good basketball together, especially on offense. They're one of the I think they're a top 10 offensive rated team in the league, and they don't play much defense. So the games are always high scoring. Them in Utah in the past week had some really, really fun high scoring battles with clutch time performances from Huerter and De'Aaron Fox and those guys. So yeah, just a really, really exciting team. Fox probably won't be an all-star, even though he probably deserves to be with the way he's played this year. Sabonis as well. Those guys, they got to keep it going for the second half of the year, but for the first half, they've been extremely exciting. And in the East, for me, it's going to be the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic have one of the most fascinating rosters in the NBA. Franz Wagner, Bol Bol, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, Paolo Banchero, Mo Wagner, and they have another 7-footer who hasn't played in 3 years, who's about to rejoin the team, who's been practicing, and Jonathan Isaac as well. This is the biggest team we've ever seen, like ever.
I don't know if he's a 7-footer, but he's definitely 6'9" and 6'9", 6'10".
But wingspan and all that stuff, he's pretty much cosplaying as a 7-foot type of guy. They're really, really interesting in their team building. They're super long and athletic. And then they have a bunch of undersized guards and Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, and Jalen Suggs, and those type of guys, and those guys in that rotation as well. They're trying to figure out who's going to be the lead guard in that scenario, but they're really fun. Paolo Banchero was my favorite player in the draft. I thought Orlando made the right decision taking him number 1 overall. He's the clear front runner for Rookie of the Year. He leads all rookies in assists. He was the best passer in the draft, and he's shown that ability as well. Orlando's found a true number 1 option hub of their office type of player. That's the best thing you can ask for at the number 1 overall pick. They're not going to win a whole lot of games, obviously, because they're still got to figure things out, but they got a lot of interesting talent, and I enjoy watching them play. All right, moving forward to our next segment, we've had the first round of All-Star voting come in. LeBron and Kevin Durant, the typical leaders of the All-Star voting when Steph Curry is not playing, are going to be the number 1 guys, probably the captains going forward. We saw what the votings came out with earlier, but I want to hear your guys' personal All-Star starting lineups.
You guys know mine, so before I say mine, I'd like to hear y'all's. You to go first.
Yeah. All right, I'll go ahead first. For the East, for me, at the guards, it's going to be Donovan Mitchell and Tyrese Halliburton. My pick for most improved player. I think he's like 20-10. He's carrying a team that wasn't supposed to be tanking. They're a top 7 seed in the Eastern Conference and a good Eastern Conference, and he's been the biggest part of that. And then at the forward spot, I got Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then the last 4 spot, Joel Embiid. Although I'm probably going to switch that out with Kevin Durant just because Joel Embiid's been beat up so much and KD's lost his team to the top of the Eastern Conference. So yeah, I'll swap Embiid out and I'll put Kevin Durant in instead. So I have Mitchell, Halliburton, Tatum, Giannis, and KD. In the West, even with his injury, I think Steph has still been one of the best guards in the NBA this year. So I'll keep him his spot. I'll give Luka Doncic the other guard spot as well. Obviously, what he's doing is unheard of. And then at the forward spots, I have LeBron, Zion, and Jokic.
You want to go, Christian?
Yeah, I'll go. My list is pretty similar to yours, Moody. I'll start with the East. But for my guard, I have Donovan Mitchell. From my second guard, I actually have James Harden. Just because I believe he's just becoming a leader role in Philly. Obviously, with Embiid and his continuous injuries, he's able to step up and just be the main scorer of that team. But for my forwards, I have Giannis, Kevin Durant, and Jason Tatum. So we're pretty. The only difference is the guard there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Giannis balling. No one can stop him. Unstoppable. Saw him drop 55 on the Wizards the other day. So that's a sad thing.
Y'all giving up a couple double nickel games, Christian. What's Porzingis doing out there? He's 7'5", and yet I see Giannis and AD dunking the basketball at will.
We'll get to that. No worries. But Kevin Durant, obviously Nets have been 9-1 their last games.
Yeah,
Been balling extremely crazy, and Jason Tatum as well. Have had a great year. But for my West, my two guards, I have Luka Doncic and Ja Morant. The only reason I didn't put Steph Curry there is just because of his injuries, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to make it. But obviously, Luka Doncic, amazing stats this year, dropping 50 continuously, and Ja Morant, next up and coming Allen Iverson is what it looks like, a generational player, but not much to say there. And my forwards, LeBron James, Zion, and Jokic. So it's very similar to yours, Moody.
Yeah, so I mean, I just rounded out. I think we had the same forwards in both the West and the East. Starting with my East, I have Mitchell, so we all consistently picked Mitchell. I have Kyrie Irving as my other guard. I believe he is the leading guard. Surprisingly, for a guy that's very hated, how he's able to be the.
He's not hated by the fans. He's hated by the media.
But we have all of us have the same front court. KD, Giannis, Tatum. Sucks for Joel Embiid. I just think he's at the fourth best season of them all, and his team's the.
It's tough. That's 4 top 10 players fighting for 3 spots. It's hard to get in there.
Yeah, sucks that they have to seed one over. Jason Tatum could theoretically be counted as a guard, but it is what it is. I actually like the format that they have anyway. And in the West, I have the same front court, back court as Christian. Luka, I mean, he had a 60-point triple-double. I think they said it's considered the greatest game. It's never happened before. He had a game that Wilt Chamberlain never had. So that's all we're gonna say about that. And I went with Ja Morant because his team's better than Steph Curry's team, and he's healthy. So I went with that. And I think we all consistently had the same 3 in the front court. LeBron James, because as long as he's playing in this league, the fans are gonna vote him in, and he's gonna find a way to get his numbers. Jokic, because he's probably he's a top 3 player in the league, and then Zion because this is his first breakout season. Him and Ja Morant starting in the All-Star game for the West is just storybook like. Yeah, they're tied together forever.
All right, y'all think there's anybody who isn't on y'all list right now who could sneak their way in when the All-Star voting closes?
I don't see James Harden. I just don't. I don't see him. I don't see James Harden. Could see Steph Curry. He's pretty popular.
I agree with that. I could see Steph Curry.
He's pretty popular, but I think it's pretty locked. And the front court spots they're locked. The front court spots are locked. Maybe Embiid. I don't know. I think it's gonna be tough for him. That the 3 guys ahead of him are just happen to be the 3 guys ahead of him in the standings too. And I think Mitchell's locked in too. He had a 70-point game. So I mean, how many 70-point games have we seen? Exactly 3 in my lifetime. So he's had one of them. And
I do like your guard pick, Moody, of Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah,
that's my guy.
I think he'd be an all-star.
That'd be a good one.
He's not in the market to get votes to jump up anybody.
Yeah, votes. That's why we did our personal thing. I think for me the biggest one who could get in there, especially with Zion having this hamstring problem that'll probably, I guess, knock him out. I doubt Zion ends up playing in the All-Star game, would be Sabonis for Sacramento. He's been really, really good. I think he's averaging like almost 20, 13, and 10, like in that area. He's been really, really good for them. And they're a playoff team, which no one's thinking Sacramento is going to be fighting for home court advantage in the playoffs. So I think he's been really good. And De'Aaron Fox on the same team as well. He's having a career year. He's the best player on that team, and he's really stepped it up efficiency-wise. Yeah, I said De'Aaron Fox is the best player on that team.
Bonus is better, but they're close. It's equal. It's pretty. If you gave them, they'd both be 89s.
Yeah, they're borderline all-stars, can sneak in if the right injuries happen for them.
I guess just one more sleeper I could think about is Laurie Markkinen as well.
Oh yeah. We totally forgot about Laurie.
I'll tell you the
He's
guy
definitely an all-star.
is definitely SGA on
SGA.
OKC.
And SGA as well. Yeah.
He isn't going to get above the big three in the West because
I don't think SGA can get in just because he's a guard. If he was a forward, he might have a chance.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for that. I think it's pretty chalk in the front courts. It'll be interesting to see who wins out those singular spots that are up for grabs in the backcourt. And then most of these guys we talked about will end up getting in anyway. Just start.
All right, let's moving on to the all-star of all-stars. We got our MVP ladder. Who do y'all give y'all? I did 5. You could do 3, 5. Give us your top 5 MVP candidates at the halfway point in the year. Chris, you can go ahead and start.
I could give you top 3 just because I didn't have top 5.
Yeah.
But, are we giving them in order or just?
Yeah, do your favorite, second, third.
Okay, so for my number 1, I have to say Luka Doncic. Obviously, going back to what Isaiah said, putting up numbers that Wilt Chamberlain never put up, that's legendary right there. But
yeah,
what he's doing for that team and with little to no help is just amazing. But dropping 50 continuously, I'm going to just keep saying that throughout this podcast because that's not natural in this league.
Actually, from what we've seen recently,
the past week, if you're not dropping 50, are you even that nice?
It seems like it's becoming normalized. But Luka for my number 1. For my number 2, I have to say Jokic, obviously, because, with a healthy team, they're the number 1 seed. Without him on that team, they still would be a good team, but he's just that, point guard center. So he's able to make the passes there, able to really be a center and be the main ball handler. So, I just like what he's doing overall. And be 3 MVPs back to back. So
that's crazy.
That'd be amazing.
That's crazy.
But for my third one, I would say Kevin Durant. It's a tough one. It was either Kevin Durant or Giannis. But I just have to say Kevin Durant because, what him and Kyrie have been doing with the Nets the past month really have just been balling out. It seems they've been unstoppable. No one has stopped them. Obviously a 7-footer with a jumper. There's not that many people in this whole league that can stop that. But
yeah,
that's my third pick.
This is tough, but it's not really that tough for me. I'm gonna keep riding on the Jokic bandwagon now that the team is good and he's still putting up ridiculous numbers. The only thing that's getting in the way of him winning this MVP and running away with it is, unfortunately, is that he's won the last 2. But it's the best season he's had and the best team success to go along with it. So he's the best team in the West. Are they the best team in the league?
Nah, Boston is
the third best team in the league. Well, still best team in the West with the stats that Jokic puts up. He would be my leader. I really think right now it's a 3-way tie between him, Giannis, and Kevin Durant. Those would be my 3 guys with not much separation between them. Sorry to Luka and Zion Williamson because those guys would round out the top 5. And definitely sorry to the Boston guys. I think Boston's team in general is the best of all the teams. That's why I ding Tatum because I think Brown brings just as much importance to that team and roster. So yeah, I'd go with Giannis, KD, and Jokic in a mean 3-way race. Interested to see how that finishes out. And then Luka and Zion as 4 and 5 as the next.
I actually have a significantly different list, so this will be for some interesting discussion. At the top of my list, I have Jason Tatum. I think 31 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, outstanding defense. He's the best player on the best team in the league. I can't take it away from it, especially their team chemistry should have been minus 1,000 after what happened in the offseason with their head coaching situation and all that. Robert Williams missed the first couple months of the year, and yet they barely missed a beat. They were on a little losing streak, and then they walked into Dallas and completely smoked them. Jason Tatum triple-double, locked up Luka Doncic, who looked like he was dealing with some injury stuff as well. But I think he's been outstanding. They're very much gunning to make a return back to the finals. I give Tatum a lot of credit. At number 2, Luka Doncic, it's nothing else to be said about that. He's been unbelievable carrying the Mavericks. I didn't think the Mavericks would be able to be fighting for home court, let alone I thought they'd be a playing team, but he's doing the job at a super duper high level. And Jason Kidd finally smartened up and stopped playing JaVale McGee over Christian Wood. So now they actually look like a good basketball team. And at number 3, Nikola Jokic. The only reason he's this low is because he's won the last 2. Like I said before, if he hadn't won one already, he'd be the clear undisputed favorite probably, because that's how productive he's able to be. And now that his team is healthy, his numbers are even better. The team success is even better. They've added defense on that team as well. He's been unbelievable. And then the 2 guys outside looking in, Giannis Antetokounmpo, like he's doing as much of a carry job as he can possibly do. No, Middleton's been dealing with family issues and injury issues. He's barely been on the floor. Holidays in and out of the lineup. It's really just been him and Brook Lopez. And if your second best guy is Brook Lopez and you're able to put up the numbers you're putting up and keep the team as competitive as you are, you're doing a good job. And then 5, it was close between Kevin Durant and Ja. I went with Ja just because his team's been less healthy and he's still a top 2 team in his conference as well. So that's why I'll give him the bump. Plus, he was my MVP pick, so I have to keep that narrative going as well. But yeah, going back through it, Tatum would be my favorite, followed by Doncic, Jokic, Giannis, and Ja Morant.
Yeah, if you're from being honest, nobody mentioned Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland, Joel Embiid in Philly, or even who else? No, and that's about it. So
yeah, none of the Pelicans guys can really get a spot, so it's hard to do that. Yeah,
I did pick. I did go with Zion. I do think Zion has been amazing this year, but I think there's 10 players theoretically that are going to be jockeying for position in this MVP race. It's going to be interesting because if you're looking at the standings right now, there's about a 2.5, 3.5 game difference from the top from 1 to 5 in the East, and it's about a 5 game difference from 1 to 5 in the West. So there's a lot of basketball to be played out, and I'm sure after the trade deadline and after the All-Star break, that's when we'll get more clarification on who survives. Unfortunately, we know there'll be a couple injuries that knock guys out. So
yeah,
interesting to see.
All right. Well, speaking of looking ahead, let's look forward to the end of May. Conference finals. I want a prediction right now. Pick the 4 teams that will be playing in the Final Four at the end of the year.
I'm going to be biased here since I'm the only one rooting for a good team that will be a part of this. I'm going to go with the Nets finding a way to win the 1 seed, and then they will play the Boston Celtics because I just don't believe Cleveland is old enough, veteran enough, so they're going to need another year to get this going. I don't believe in James Harden and Joel Embiid to stay healthy. And I'm unfortunately for Giannis, it looks like the Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday era is behind him. They're going to need to probably retool that team around him if they want to keep him happy and in town. So in the East, the top 2 teams right now, Boston and Brooklyn, they played each other in the playoffs 2 years in a row. Brooklyn embarrassed Boston the year prior. Boston embarrassed Brooklyn last year. So rubber match that just writes itself, and everybody knows about the Kevin Garnett Paul Pierce trade. So everything writes itself. All the narratives write themselves there. And in the West, I'm definitely going to go with the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are by far the best team in the West, surprisingly. And I know it sucks for Memphis and New Orleans, but I still think they're too young. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic to get back to the Western Conference Finals, and Nikola Jokic to get back to the Western Conference Finals.
You've been praying for your Euro in Conference Finals, so you're trying to manifest it. I see you.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll go with those. Those will be my 4 teams. It'll be Boston and Brooklyn in the East, and Denver and Dallas. Yes, I wanted to say New Orleans, but I'll go with Denver and Dallas in the West.
All right, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, just going back to what Isaiah was saying, I agree. I'll start with the East, but I agree with him. Just saying that Brooklyn, I believe, has the best experience in playoffs. So I just have Brooklyn as my number 1, just based off, obviously, KD, Kyrie having experience going the distance in playoffs. But I have Brooklyn against – now my second choice is a really underdog team, and it's 76ers. I choose the
That's not an underdog, but I understand what you're saying.
We've seen time and time again Harden going out sad during playoffs, and Embiid, we've seen him going out literally crying sad during playoffs. So I feel like this year, hopefully,
It's the year they don't go out this
the injuries don't come. We all know the injuries come, but we've seen Phillies, the baseball team, go outside, so maybe City of Brotherly Love can
Yeah, Eagles are doing good.
show them.
And Philly's got
Nah, Philly deserves nothing.
So, I'm hoping we don't see injuries for those two, but it seems like they're cursed, but that's my choice. Nets versus 76ers for the
you went with
East.
the other storyline. You went with the other storyline.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
West?
for the West, I have Denver Nuggets as my number one. Obviously, a full healthy team. It looks like their chemistry overall, they look like the best team in the West, but I have them going against Memphis Grizzlies. Going against what Isaiah said, I just think they're a young core team. They have some injuries right now, but I think during playoff time, they'll be fully healthy and just really prepared to win. Obviously, they were trash talking Golden State, acting like
They wanted all the smoke.
they already.
It's still getting smoked, even without Steph being there. You
So,
gotta learn.
I think after that Christmas Day smoke, they might come prepared this year. So we'll see. But I have Nuggets versus Grizzlies for my Western Conference.
All right, Moody, go ahead and write off Golden State. Be the last of us to write off Golden State. Your turn.
All right, I'll start off in the West because we all are consensus on Denver. I think Denver is the best overall team in the Western Conference, and they have enough veteran experience, especially with guys like KCP and Bruce Brown, to be playoff dangerous. But no, I will not be writing off the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are going to be in the conference finals at minimum. They're still better than New Orleans. They're still better than Dallas. They're still better than Memphis. So, and I just can't see a scenario in which they're healthy and not playing in the biggest games of the year. When all their guys are healthy, they still have yet to lose since the 2016 NBA Finals. They haven't lost a playoff series with those guys together. Steph was playing like an MVP candidate to start the year. I don't think he's going to suddenly be a bad player when he gets back. And Clay is going to be healthy. So, yeah, there's no reason to write off the Warriors until they are killed. Moving to the Eastern Conference, I don't like the Celtics, but I think the Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. They're clearly playing with high motivation on both sides of the floor. Jason Tatum and Brown seem to have made another step as well. And they're a deeper team this year with Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Grant Williams, and those guys who have all got some playoff experience and have stepped up. What'd you say?
Because they signed Gallinari and then he tore his knee up in Euro.
Yeah, they lost Gallinari right away. But overall, I still think it's a 3-team race between the Celtics, Bucks, and the Nets. Between the Bucks and the Nets, I will take the Bucks to be the other team represented in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they'll find a way to be healthy when it matters. It looks ugly right now. Middleton can't get on the floor. Holiday's been in and out of the lineup, and he thinks he's Steph Curry. Holiday shoots more step back threes than anybody who actually can't shoot I've ever seen in the league. So
it's going down. It's going down. When it's not going down, it's way off.
It's way off. So yeah, but Holiday will always be able to bring that all NBA caliber defense as well, and that'll be big for them when the playoffs roll around. So I'll go Celtics, Bucks in the East, Nuggets, Warriors in the West.
Oh, everybody went with something different.
Except Nuggets. We all agree.
Except for the Nuggets.
Except for the Nuggets. We all think the Nuggets are good.
Except for the Nuggets. Everybody was in on the Nuggets. And lastly, this is the bonus round, is what I'm throwing in here, is the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. We're going to pick the top 3 teams that we want to see the next greatest prospect I've ever seen in my life, play for.
This will be a hot take, but Victor Wembanyama is already a top 10 player in the world. Now, today. He already is. There are not 10 basketball players better than the 7'5" Kevin Durant. It just doesn't exist.
It's like Rudy Gobert.
Handles
or Giannis, because he can switch out on the wing too. He can be stifling or lock you up on the front. Yeah, it's crazy, man. They shouldn't build guys like that.
Right now,
doesn't make sense.
I'll go first since it's the bonus round that I randomly brought up. But being the greedy person that I am, number 1 would be the Charlotte Hornets. Ideally, to see Victor Wembanyama playing with LaMelo Ball, that would be the dream come true. To finally save Michael Jordan's ownership career, it's the only way that I could ever see the Charlotte Hornets being anything more than the perennial bottom 5 team that they have been consistently. At number 2, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know how bad they will be because Shea is actually having a great year. Josh Giddey's made another leap. But if they were to add Victor Wembanyama along with a returning Chet Holmgren, they would be along with Pokusevski.
Alexei Pokashevsky, yeah,
They,
he's a good player.
they would have the most ridiculous length on the front court you've ever seen in your life, along with very athletic players. So I'd go with OKC. And number 3, this one's gonna cut deep. The New Orleans Pelicans via the Los Angeles Lakers first round pick. Victor Wembanyama being forced to go play with Zion Williamson and the crew in New Orleans would be magnificent. I'm sorry, San Antonio. You probably are doing your best to get your hands on him, but you already did this. You got Tim Duncan last time, so we don't need that. You don't need it again. But those would be my 3 teams. Charlotte, because I live in the area, I'd go watch those 2 play every month, every weekend if I could. Followed by OKC, followed by New Orleans Pelicans via the Los Angeles Lakers.
We don't have to keep continuing with the via Los Angeles Lakers. We get it. I understand.
They're like, wait, how can
We've seen it happen before. We saw the Celtics pick 3 times in the top 3 while being in the conference finals. It's okay. Yeah. All right. This one's I didn't do any research on this one, so this is out of nowhere for me. Number 1, my league pass team, the biggest team ever, should get bigger, and the Orlando Magic should be the team that gets Victor Wembanyama and just have a starting lineup of all 6'10" guys. Nobody under the height of 6'10" are allowed to play for the Orlando Magic starting lineup. I think that'd be the most entertaining team we've ever seen. And number 2, I'll agree with I think 2 and 3, I'll be in lockstep with Isaiah. Charlotte Hornets, Oklahoma City Thunder. Those are the team. Obviously, Charlotte, they have to find their wing replacement now that Bridges went haywire.
They're
not bringing him back. He's getting cut like Trevor Bauer. He's getting cut like Trevor Bauer.
They're in contract discussions. They're bringing him back.
They denied it. They said, "No, we good." They can't. They know they can't. They're gonna have to let him go. But even if by some miracle they do bring him back, they'll probably be bad enough that they'll be able to just toss Victor in that lineup anyway. So yeah, Charlotte. They were screwed out of Anthony Davis after having a 7-win season. They deserve this one more than anybody, so they should have it. And then at number 3, Oklahoma City Thunder, another team that could be playing 6'10" guys in 4 out of the 5 spots. Yeah, you want to see Victor is going to transcend any franchise, but these borderline teams that could really use the jump into championship contention, that's who Victor needs to be going the most. And I think, yeah, those 3 teams could be at the top of the list. And then the sneaky 4th one I'll add is Toronto, because they're really bad this year. He'll be able to pretty much stay not at home, but like they speak French in Toronto, Canada. He's French, so that's a good pairing as well. They got a bunch of international guys over there as well, and probably the best coached team of all those guys too.
Yeah, my list kind of sounds similar to yours, Moody, but for my number 1, I'd have to say Orlando Magic. Going back to what you were saying, it seems like it's a circus team. So
where would he play with Pablo? They play the same position.
Pablo plays the 2.
Oval and Victor on the court, just nobody, reaching them at 7 foot. So it'll be a hell of a team to watch. But that'll be my number 1. But for my number 2, I gotta agree with Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, with everything going on, them being the 14th seed right now, but it'll obviously give them that extra boost. Him and LaMelo would probably be amazing together, amazing duo.
That's Bird and Kareem. I mean, that's Magic and Kareem.
Yeah, that's what it is, the 2.0. But for my 3rd one, I would have to say it'd be different than what you guys said, but I'd say Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I want to talk about Houston, so go ahead.
They're just a young core team. Jalen Green. I think they have Aaron Gordon
Smith.
Still. Yeah, Jabari Smith.
Eric Gordon's trying to get out of it. He's desperately, but
they won't. But he's playing 30 minutes a night for that terrible team.
They won't move him. He's just trying to play his way out, and they just won't move him.
What I've Kevin Porter Jr. also. It looks like his NBA game is developing as well. But just that young core team, I feel like Victor would just fit in just naturally with that, and he'll get more playing time. So that'd be my 3rd pick. So it was Orlando, Charlotte, and Houston.
You hear those names, Isaiah, Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. Can you really trust those guys without some veteran leadership in the locker room in Houston?
No, I just want to see Victor Wembanyama being drafted #1 by the New Orleans Pelicans.
You got
I'm sure they
both.
stay on the phone with James Harden trying to figure out where all the hot spots are at. But all right, if that's it, we hit a lot of stuff here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. This has been a really, really good midseason review. Second half of the season coming up. We'll also have NFL playoff stuff coming up as well. I want to thank Christian Cubis for joining us. And Isaiah, what do we need the people to do?
Like, comment, subscribe, share, interact. 5 tools, and we'll be fine. We'll see y'all next time.